What happens when the unflappable, the eternal gentleman of British cinema, meets a force of nature he simply cannot act his way through? We all remember the day, don't we? The headlines, the gasp that rippled across living rooms from Land's End to John O'Groats. Sir Michael Caine storming off the set of Loose Women. But what if I told you that what we all saw, the flustered host, the heated words with Denise Mulch, the dramatic exit, was not a moment of weakness, but one of profound strength? What if that walk-off was the final scene in a secret 60-year script Michael Caine had been writing for himself? A script about dignity, about knowing your worth, and about the quiet power of saying, no more. Stay with me, because today we're not just revisiting a television tantrum, we're uncovering the hidden blueprint of a life, and it might just inspire you to look at your own story in a completely new light. The blueprint, the East End boy and the unseen rules. To understand the walk-off, we must first travel back, not to the glittering premiere of The Italian Job, but to the rubble-strewn streets of post-war Bermondsey, to a boy named Maurice Micklewhite, a world of ration books, of bomb sites for playgrounds, and a code of conduct as hard as the cobblestones. This is where the first rule of Michael Caine was forged. Dignity is not given, it is built. He saw it in his father, a fish market porter, who, despite back-breaking labour, would ensure his shirt collar was clean. He learned it himself doing national service in Korea, facing a different kind of heat than a television studio. In those formative years, he wasn't learning to act, he was learning to endure. He was learning to build an internal fortress of self-respect, brick by brick. He carried this blueprint with him as he climbed. The working-class accent he refused to shed became a badge of that honour, a statement that his worth was not tied to a plummy vowel. Every role, from the cocky soldier to the weary inspector, was layered with this deep-seated understanding of a man's fundamental value. So by the time he became Sir Michael Caine, the title was just public confirmation of a knighthood he had granted himself decades earlier in the silence of his own heart. This foundation is the key, because when he walked on to the Loose Women set that day, he wasn't just a movie star promoting a film, he was the living embodiment of that Bermondsey blueprint. And he was about to discover that the set of a lively daytime talk show operated on a completely different set of rules, rules that would directly challenge the very core of his being. Which begs the question, what is the true nature of the Loose Women studio? Is it just harmless fun? Or is it a psychological gladiator arena where the gentlemanly rules of engagement simply do not apply? The answer, when we return, might surprise you. Welcome back. We were just asking, what exactly is the world that Michael Caine walked into? The arena, the unforgiving reality of the daytime talk show. Now, let's consider the arena, Loose Women. For Melans, it's a comforting cuppa and a chat, a bit of gossip, a few laughs, but look closer. This is not the hallowed, scripted ground of the BBC's film programme. This is a live, unpredictable beast. Its lifeblood is spontaneity, its currency is controversy, and its engine is conflict. The format is designed to provoke 4 strong-willed women, a hot topic, and a ticking clock. The goal is not a measured intellectual debate, it's about generating moments. The kind of moments that get people talking at the bus stop, that trend on Twitter, that fill the next day's newspapers. It's a theatre of personal opinion, where interruption is a tactic and provocation is often the point. Denise Welch, a wonderful actress in her own right, is a master of this environment. She is a force of nature, brilliant at cutting through the polite chatter to get to the emotional, often messy heart of the matter. She plays the game by the rules of the arena. And on that day, the topic turned to politics, to Brexit, to the deeply divided nation, a minefield for anyone, let alone a guest used to controlling a narrative on a film set. The atmosphere shifted, the gentle banter evaporated, the questions became more pointed, the interjections more personal. Michael Caine, the master of his cinematic domain, found himself in a world where his carefully crafted blueprint was suddenly useless. The fortress of his dignity was under direct assault, not from a film villain, but from a friendly fire volley of heated opinion. And this is the critical juncture. This is where we see the clash of two titanic, yet utterly incompatible forces. On one side, the arena, demanding a spectacle. On the other, the man, whose entire life has been a defense against being made a spectacle of. The tension was becoming unbearable. The air was electric, and everyone watching could feel it. Something had to give. But what was the final straw? What specific word, what question, what line was crossed that caused the dam to break? The moment of the walk-off is even more shocking when you understand the precise trigger, and it's not what most people think. We'll reveal that next. So, what was the final, unforgivable transgression? It's here the cameras were rolling and the nation held its breath. The argument with Denise Welch was escalating. The discussion was no longer a discussion, it was a cross-examination. And then it happened. The question wasn't just about politics anymore, it became personal. It challenged his integrity, his intelligence, perhaps even his right to hold the opinion he did. Now here is the surprise, the twist in our story. What we perceived as storming off was not a hot-headed explosion. Look at his face. Look at his eyes. That is not the face of a man who has lost his temper. That is the face of a man who has come to a cold, clear, and irrevocable decision. This was not a storm. This was a strategic retreat. This was Michael Caine, the working-class boy who survived career and the cutthroat world of Hollywood, activating a deeply ingrained survival instinct. He assessed the battlefield, saw that honor was a casualty, and he exercised his only remaining power, the power of removal. He didn't shout, he didn't swear, he simply stood up. In that one fluid, decisive motion, he reclaimed the narrative. He was saying with every fibre of his being, I will not be a pawn in this game. I will not have my dignity auctioned for ratings. He picked up his water, offered a terse, I think we should end this, and he walked. The silence he left behind was more deafening than any argument. But the true genius, the most inspiring part of this whole story, wasn't the walk-off itself. It was what happened next, away from the cameras. And it's a lesson for every single one of us on how to handle our own life's conflicts with grace and unshakable self-respect. So what happens after you make your stand? The aftermath, the quiet power of a life well lived. The media, of course, went into a frenzy. Caine storms off, fury on loose women. They framed it as a meltdown, a celebrity tantrum. They tried to paint him as the villain, the grumpy old man who couldn't take a bit of robust debate. But a fascinating thing happened. The expected apology never came. There was no grovelling press release from his publicist, no tearful phone call to the producers. Michael Caine did something far more powerful. He went home. He had a cup of tea. He got on with his life. He remained, as he always has, Michael Caine. He understood a profound truth that often comes with the wisdom of our years. You do not have to attend every argument you are invited to. Your peace of mind is a palace far more valuable than any television studio. By refusing to engage in the post-mortem, by refusing to justify his actions, he robbed the entire incident of its power. He didn't just win the argument, he transcended it. He demonstrated that the ultimate power move isn't always a loud confrontation. Sometimes it's the quiet, resolute act of closing a door and walking towards your own peace.
It's a lesson in emotional intelligence that any of us at any age can learn from. Whether it's a difficult family member, a taxing situation at a club, or a conversation that's turning sour, we too have the right to simply withdraw with dignity. Which leads us to the final and perhaps most important question of all. What does the Michael Caine walk-off truly mean for you and me sitting here today? How can a moment of television drama become a guiding light for our own lives? The answer, when we return for our final thought, is simpler and more beautiful than you might imagine.
So, what is the ultimate takeaway from this whole affair? Your walk-off, embracing the power to say no more. The story of Michael Caine on Loose Women is really not about Michael Caine or